I meant to say hello, but ended up asking to kiss her. She didn't hesitate. The slip of the tongue. Marcus Thorne stared at his reflection in the glossy surface of the observation deck window, attempting to smooth down his perpetually disheveled brown hair. The endless expanse of stars beyond the reinforced glass of Celestia Prime Research Station did nothing to calm his nerves. In less than 10 minutes, he would meet the delegation from Nebula, and as the station's lead astrobiologist, he couldn't afford to make a poor impression. "You look like you're about to face an execution squad rather than a diplomatic meeting," remarked Dr. Eliza Chen, his research partner, as she approached with a tablet in hand. "The Nebulans aren't going to dissect you, Marcus, though they might be curious about your nervous system if you keep sweating like that." Marcus wiped his palms against his regulation uniform pants. Very funny. This alliance could mean unlimited access to their atmospheric manipulation technology. Do you know what that could mean for terraforming efforts back home? "Hence why you need to relax," Eliza advised, adjusting her lab coat. "Ambassador Soren mentioned their lead scientist is quite brilliant. Luna something. Apparently she's developed theories about cross-species biological adaptations that parallel your own research." The station's chime interrupted them, followed by the commander's voice. "All senior research staff report to the diplomatic reception hall. Nebulan delegation arriving in T-5 minutes." The reception hall was Celestia Prime's crown jewel, a massive dome with a transparent ceiling offering an unobstructed view of the galaxy. Marcus found himself positioned near the entrance, clutching a datapad with his presentation notes so tightly his knuckles had turned white. When the doors finally parted, Marcus felt his breath catch in his throat. The Nebulans entered with an otherworldly grace that made them seem as though they were floating rather than walking. At their center was a figure that immediately captured Marcus's attention. She was tall and willowy, with skin the color of twilight, a soft, luminous purple that seemed to shimmer slightly under the station's lights. Her eyes were large and almond-shaped, containing swirling patterns that reminded Marcus of distant nebulae. Silver markings adorned her temples and followed the curve of her cheekbones. Her movements were fluid, deliberate, and Marcus found himself utterly transfixed. Commander Reeves stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth Science Coalition, welcome to Celestia Prime. Ambassador Soren, we're honored by your presence." A dignified Nebulan bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, Commander. May I introduce our chief xenobiological researcher, Luna Vastriel." The purple-skinned woman stepped forward, her gaze meeting Marcus's. Up close, he could see tiny luminescent freckles dotting the bridge of her nose. She inclined her head toward him with a curious expression. "Dr. Marcus Thorne," Commander Reeves announced, "our leading astrobiologist." Marcus had rehearsed his greeting countless times. A simple professional, "Welcome to Celestia Prime. I look forward to our collaboration." That's all he needed to say. But as Luna's iridescent eyes focused on him, his mind went completely blank. I'm... He stammered, then somehow, horrifyingly, the jumbled words that tumbled from his mouth were, "Can I kiss you?" The reception hall fell silent. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face as his colleagues stared at him in shock. Commander Reeves looked apoplectic, but Luna Vastriel didn't recoil in disgust or offense. Instead, her eyes widened slightly, and the corners of her mouth curved upward. A soft, melodic laugh escaped her lips. "Well," she said in a voice that reminded Marcus of wind chimes, "that's certainly the most interesting greeting I've received on a diplomatic mission." She stepped closer, studying him with undisguised curiosity. "Is this a traditional human welcome I should be aware of?" Ambassador Soren cleared his throat loudly. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Luna interrupted, her gaze never leaving Marcus's mortified face. "Just an honest mistake, I think. Refreshing, actually." She extended her hand in the human gesture she had obviously studied. "I'm Luna Vastriel, and while I typically prefer a formal introduction before kissing, I appreciate your directness, Dr. Thorne." As Marcus shakily took her hand, he felt a gentle squeeze of reassurance, and somehow, in that moment of profound embarrassment, he sensed that his life was about to change in ways he could never have predicted. Oh. Cultural exchange 2 weeks after his mortifying introduction, Marcus found himself in the station's hydroponics garden with Luna, surrounded by the calming rustle of earth plants growing alongside experimental Nebulan flora. Their daily meetings had quickly become the highlight of his otherwise methodical existence. "So your people actually communicate through bioluminescent patterns as well as speech?" Marcus asked, carefully noting Luna's explanation in his tablet as they strolled between rows of glowing purple vegetables. Luna nodded, the silver markings on her face catching the light. For emotional nuance, yes, words alone can be limiting. As if to demonstrate, the delicate patterns along her temples pulsed with a soft blue light. This, for example, indicates curiosity and engagement. Fascinating, Marcus murmured, fighting the urge to reach out and trace the glowing patterns with his fingertip. I can see why our initial communications were so fraught with misunderstandings. Luna stopped beside a flowering plant with luminous petals. Like your unintentional proposal? Her eyes sparkled with amusement and Marcus felt his cheeks warm. I'm still mortified about that, he admitted. Commander Reeves lectured me for an hour about diplomatic incidents. Don't be, Luna replied, reaching out to touch a nearby fern. In my culture, directness is valued. Many humans I've met hide their true intentions beneath layers of politeness. It's confusing. Marcus watched as she gently coaxed the fern to curl around her finger, responding to some unseen connection between her and the plant. Is it true that nebulans can communicate with plant life? Not exactly communicate, she corrected. But we share a bioelectric resonance with most living things. We can sense their needs, their growth patterns. She glanced at him sideways. I can sense yours too, you know. Marcus nearly dropped his tablet. My resonance? Your emotions create patterns, she explained. Right now you're nervous but also excited. Your energy flutters. She made a delicate gesture with her fingers, like starlight reflecting on water. Before Marcus could respond, his communicator beeped with an incoming message from Dr. Chen. Marcus, we need you in Lab 3. The atmospheric samples from Nebulan are showing unexpected reactions. Luna tilted her head. Trouble with our samples? Probably just an anomaly in the containment field, he said, though uncertainty crept into his voice. Would you like to come? Your insight would be valuable. I would be honored, Luna replied, her markings pulsing with a new intensity that Marcus couldn't interpret. They made their way through the station's curved corridors, passing humans and the occasional Nebulan diplomat engaged in animated conversation. The newfound cooperation between their species had transformed the usually sterile environment of Celestia Prime into a hub of cross-cultural exchange. As they approached Lab 3, Marcus noticed a group of senior officials huddled outside the entrance, their expressions grim. Commander Reeves stood among them, alongside Ambassador Soren. What's happening? Marcus asked as they approached. Dr. Chen turned, relief evident on her face when she spotted Luna. The atmospheric compound is breaking down our containment field. It's exhibiting properties we didn't anticipate. Luna stepped forward without hesitation. May I? She asked, gesturing toward the lab's viewing window. Through it, Marcus could see a swirling purple mist pressing against the edges of its containment unit, tendrils of vapor escaping through microscopic breaches. It's responding to the station's electromagnetic field, Luna explained, placing her palm against the glass. Our atmosphere is semi-sentient. It adapts to its environment. Semi-sentient atmosphere? Commander Reeves repeated incredulously. That wasn't in the briefing materials. Luna's markings flashed briefly with what Marcus now recognized as embarrassment. It's not common knowledge. Many consider it sacred. She turned to Marcus. The compound needs harmony. May I enter? Absolutely not, Commander Reeves interjected. It's breaching containment. It's responding to discord, Luna insisted. I can stabilize it. Marcus found himself standing between them, looking from the commander to Luna. I'll go in with her, he heard himself say. The compound isn't toxic to humans according to our initial tests. If Luna says she can help, I believe her. The surprise on Luna's face was evident, her markings pulsing with a warm golden light that made Marcus's heart race. Before anyone could object further, he entered his override code and the lab door slid open. Together they stepped inside as the door sealed behind them. What do we do? Marcus asked, watching the swirling mist with both trepidation and wonder. Luna moved closer to the containment field, her body now illuminated with patterns Marcus hadn't seen before, intricate spirals and flowing lines that covered her arms and neck. We need to show it harmony, she said softly. May I take your hand? When their fingers intertwined, Marcus felt a subtle vibration pass between them. Luna closed her eyes and the patterns on her skin began to pulse rhythmically. To his astonishment, the erratic movement of the atmospheric compound began to slow, matching the cadence of Luna's bioluminescent display. "It's beautiful," Marcus whispered, transfixed by both the swirling mist and the woman beside him. "This is how my world breathes," Luna replied, her voice barely audible. "It responds to life, to connection." She opened her eyes, turning to face him. "Like I respond to you." Their gazes locked, and in that moment, surrounded by the gently pulsing purple atmosphere of her homeworld, Marcus forgot about the observers beyond the lab window. He forgot about diplomatic protocols and cultural differences. Slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, he leaned forward. "May I?" he asked, echoing his first disastrous greeting but now with deliberate intent. Luna's markings glowed with an intense violet light as she closed the distance between them. "Yes," she whispered against his lips. This time, yes. Their kiss was gentle, tentative, a first bridge between worlds as different as the stars themselves. Around them, the nebulan atmosphere settled into perfect, harmonious stability. Starlit Confession. The emergency sirens blared through Celestia Prime at 0300 station time, jolting Marcus from a deep sleep. Red warning lights pulsed along the corridors as he rushed toward the main research hub, hastily fastening his uniform jacket. "Status report," he demanded as he burst into the control room, finding it in organized chaos. Dr. Chen looked up from her console, her face pale. "Micrometeoroid collision with the eastern quadrant. We've lost pressure in sections 7 through 12. Emergency bulkheads activated, but what?" Marcus pressed, scanning the damage reports flooding the screens. "The Nebulan delegation's quarters are in section 9, she finished quietly. Marcus felt his heart stop. "Luna, communications are down in that sector," Commander Reeves interjected, joining them at the main console. "Life support is holding, but we have at least 15 people trapped, including 7 Nebulans." Without conscious thought, Marcus found himself moving toward the emergency access corridor. "I know those sections better than anyone. The atmospheric research lab connects to section 9 through the maintenance tunnels." "Thorne, wait!" Commander Reeves called after him. "Rescue teams are assembling. They'll be too late if the life support fails," Marcus replied, already punching his access code into the sealed doorway. "I'm going." The journey through the maintenance tunnels was treacherous. Damaged conduits sparked overhead, and the artificial gravity fluctuated with each step. Marcus navigated by memory and the dim glow of emergency lighting, his mind fixed on a single purpose. When he finally reached section 9, he found the main doors sealed by the emergency protocols. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he manually overrode the lock mechanism and forced the doors open just enough to slip through. The Nebulan quarters were bathed in an eerie blue emergency light. Marcus moved cautiously through the common area, calling out as he went. "Hello, Luna? Is anyone here?" A faint glow emanated from behind a partially collapsed partition. As Marcus carefully climbed over the debris, he found Luna kneeling beside an elderly Nebulan man, her hands pressed to his chest, her markings pulsing with intense concentration. "Marcus," she acknowledged without looking up, her voice strained. "Elder Krell is injured. The others evacuated through the secondary exit, but he couldn't move and I couldn't leave him." Marcus crouched beside them, taking in the situation. The elder's breathing was shallow and a deep gash across his forehead leaked silvery fluid. "Life support is failing in this section. We need to move him." "His life energy is destabilizing," Luna said, her markings now flaring with urgent patterns. "If we move him without stabilizing his biorhythm first." "How can I help?" Marcus asked without hesitation. Luna finally looked up, her eyes reflecting the emergency lights. "I need your resonance, like in the lab with the atmosphere, but deeper." She extended one hand toward him while keeping the other on the elder's chest. "It's intimate by my people's standards. A melding of life energies." Marcus took her hand without hesitation. "I trust you." The moment their fingers interlaced, Marcus felt a jolt unlike anything he'd experienced before. Luna's markings extended like tendrils of light, seeming to flow from her skin onto his. A warm sensation spread through his body, and suddenly he could truly feel the rhythmic pulse of life in Luna, in Elder Krell, and somehow in himself, all connected. "Focus on harmony," Luna whispered, her voice somehow both beside him and within his mind. "See the pattern, feel the rhythm." Marcus closed his eyes, surrendering to the strange sensation. He imagined the steady beat of his heart synchronizing with Luna's, creating a bridge through which healing energy could flow to the injured Nebulan. Time lost meaning as they worked together, Marcus providing strength while Luna guided it with precision, born of her people's ancient knowledge. When he finally opened his eyes again, the elder's breathing had steadied, and the silver fluid had stopped flowing from his wound. "We need to move now," Marcus said gently. "Can he be transported?" Luna nodded, her markings slowly returning to their normal state as she withdrew from the deep connection. "Yes, the maintenance tunnel. It's our best option," Marcus confirmed, carefully lifting the elder with Luna's help. Their journey back was painstaking and slow. By the time they reached the safety of the main hub, Marcus was exhausted, his muscles screaming in protest. Medical teams immediately took charge of Elder Krell, whisking him away to the infirmary as Commander Reeves approached. "That was either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish, Dr. Thorne," she remarked, though her stern expression was softened by obvious relief. "Necessary," Marcus replied simply. After being cleared by medical and debriefed on the damage, Marcus found himself alone in the observation deck staring out at the stars. The station's repair teams worked outside, tiny figures against the vast backdrop of space. "You risked your life," Luna's voice came from behind him. "For my people." "For me." Marcus turned to find her standing in the doorway, her purple skin almost luminous in the dim lighting of the observation deck. "I couldn't bear the thought of losing you," he admitted, the words slipping out before he could reconsider them. "What I felt today when we connected. Luna, I've never experienced anything like that." She moved to stand beside him at the viewport, her reflection appearing alongside his in the glass. "The sharing of life essence is sacred among my people. It's usually reserved for those who have formed a deep bond." "Is that what we have?" Marcus asked, turning to face her fully. Luna's markings pulsed with a soft rose-colored light. "I believe it is. But there are complications. The Council on Nebula has expressed concerns about our growing closeness, and I've heard rumors that some in your Earth Coalition feel the same." "Politics," Marcus said dismissively. "They don't understand. They fear what they don't understand," Luna corrected gently, reaching up to touch his face. "As our peoples once feared each other." Under the endless canopy of stars, Marcus took both her hands in his. Her skin was cool against his, the patterns of light beneath it pulsing in time with her heartbeat. A heartbeat he could still somehow sense, an echo of their connection that hadn't fully faded. "I'm in love with you," he said simply. "I don't care about politics or differences. What I felt today wasn't just biology or some kind of alien connection. It was you, Luna, all of you." Her markings flared brilliantly in response, illuminating the space between them with patterns too complex for him to interpret. But he didn't need translation for the way she moved into his arms, or for the tears that shimmered like stardust at the corners of her eyes. "My people have a saying," she whispered against his shoulder. "When two stars collide, they either destroy each other or create something entirely new." She pulled back slightly to look into his eyes. "I choose creation, Marcus. I choose you." Their kiss was deeper this time, unrestrained by uncertainty or the watchful eyes of others. As Marcus held her close, he could feel their heartbeats synchronizing once again, two different rhythms finding harmony among the stars. Diplomatic complications. The conference room buzzed with tension as representatives from Earth and Nebula faced each other across the polished table. What had begun as a scientific collaboration was rapidly devolving into a political standoff. Marcus sat rigidly beside Dr. Chen, acutely aware of Luna's absence from the Nebulan delegation. "The incident last week demonstrates precisely why we must reconsider the scope of this partnership," argued Counselor Hayes, the newly arrived Earth Coalition diplomat. "The Nebulans withheld critical information about their atmospheric compound's semi-sentient properties." "What else aren't they telling us?" Ambassador Soren's silver markings flashed with controlled irritation. "The compound's nature is considered sacred knowledge. Would your people immediately share all your religious beliefs upon first contact?" Commander Reeves attempted to mediate. "The more pressing concern is establishing new safety protocols." "The pressing concern," interrupted a tall, austere Nebulan whom Marcus recognized as Minister Orith, "is the inappropriate fraternization between research personnel that compromises objectivity." His cold gaze fixed on Marcus. particularly when it involves our chief xenobiological researcher. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. My personal relationships have no bearing on— Dr. Thorne, Counselor Hayes cut in. Your judgment has been questioned since that scene in the laboratory. The Coalition has concerns about potential biological influence affecting human autonomy. That's absurd, Marcus protested, rising from his chair. Luna saved Elder Krell's life with my willing assistance. There was no influence involved. Minister Orith's markings pulsed with a harsh crimson light. Luna Vastriel has been recalled to Nebula for questioning about her methods and her attachments. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Recalled when? She departed an hour ago, Ambassador Soren said quietly. I'm sorry, Dr. Thorne. It was not my decision. Marcus looked around the table, suddenly understanding the purpose of this meeting. It wasn't about scientific cooperation at all. It was about separating him from Luna. This is ridiculous, he said, struggling to maintain his composure. We're on the verge of breakthroughs that could transform both our worlds. Luna's insights have been invaluable. And they will continue to be, Minister Orith replied coldly, under proper supervision on Nebula. As the meeting continued, Marcus's mind raced. Luna had been gone for an hour without saying goodbye. Had she chosen to leave? Had she been given a choice at all? The uncertainty gnawed at him, making it impossible to focus on the bureaucratic posturing around him. After what felt like an eternity, the conference adjourned with nothing resolved except increased restrictions on cross-species collaboration. As the delegates filed out, Ambassador Soren lingered behind. Dr. Thorne, he said quietly when they were alone. Luna asked me to give you this. He pressed a small, crystalline device into Marcus's palm. She didn't leave willingly. The device warmed at his touch, emitting a soft purple glow. What is it? A memory crystal. It's personal. The ambassador's markings flickered with sympathy. Minister Orith represents a conservative faction that fears cultural contamination. They believe Luna has become too human. Marcus closed his fingers around the crystal. Thank you for telling me. I believe in the work we're doing here, Soren added, moving toward the door. And I believe connections like yours and Luna's represent our best hope for true understanding between our peoples. Alone in his quarters that night, Marcus activated the crystal. Luna's image appeared above it, her form translucent and glowing. Marcus, her holographic projection, spoke softly. If you're seeing this, they've taken me back to Nebula. Don't believe what they'll tell you, this isn't my choice. Her markings pulsed with intense patterns of distress and longing. There are those among my people who fear what we've discovered together. They believe the connection we share threatens our cultural purity. Marcus reached toward the image, his fingers passing through the light. The resonance we created is unprecedented, Luna continued. The elders want to study me, to understand how a human could achieve such harmony with our life energy. She looked down momentarily. They fear you, or rather they fear what you represent. The possibility that our peoples are not as different as they've always believed. Her image looked up again, eyes shimmering with emotion. I've left something for you in the atmospheric research lab. Find it. And remember, the patterns we create together transcend physical distance. The hologram's markings flared brilliantly. I will find my way back to you, Marcus. Trust in that, if nothing else. The projection faded, leaving Marcus alone in the darkness, the crystal cooling in his palm. The next morning, he made his way to the atmospheric research lab under the pretense of continuing his work. The lab had been largely restricted since the containment incident, but his clearance still granted him access. At first, nothing seemed out of place. The containment field had been reinforced, the nebulan atmospheric sample safely secured behind multiple barriers. Marcus methodically searched the room, unsure what he was looking for until he noticed a faint glow emanating from beneath a research terminal. Kneeling, he discovered a small vial of luminescent fluid hidden in a recessed compartment. As his fingers closed around it, the liquid inside began to pulse with patterns identical to Luna's markings. A handwritten note accompanied it. Our essence resonates across any distance. 2 drops in water before sleep. That night, Marcus stared at the vial for hours, weighing his options. Using unknown alien substances went against every protocol. Yet the pull he felt toward the glowing liquid was undeniable. Finally, he added 2 drops to a glass of water. The liquid dispersed, creating swirling patterns before becoming transparent. Marcus hesitated only briefly before drinking. Sleep came quickly, deeper than any he'd known before. And in his dreams, Luna was there, not as a fantasy or memory, but present in a way that felt more real than reality itself. They stood together in a space that was neither Celestia Prime nor Nebula, but somehow both and neither, a realm of consciousness where distance held no meaning. "You found it," Luna said, her form more vivid and substantial than her hologram had been, essence of our atmosphere infused with my resonance pattern. "Is this real?" Marcus asked, reaching for her hand. When their fingers intertwined, he felt the same connection they'd shared when healing Elder Krell. "As real as thought itself," she replied. "My people can connect across vast distances through shared essence. I didn't know if it would work with a human, but our previous connection created the possibility. They're trying to keep us apart," Marcus told her. "Both sides. They're afraid of what we represent." Luna's form rippled with patterns of determination. "Then we must show them why that fear is unfounded." Her expression grew serious. "Marcus, I've learned something troubling. Minister Orith isn't just concerned about cultural contamination. He's deliberately sabotaging the Alliance. The micrometeoroid collision wasn't an accident." Marcus stared at her in shock. "What are you saying?" "There's a faction among both our peoples who believe isolation is safer than cooperation. They're willing to engineer incidents to prove their point." Her markings swirled with urgency. "I'm being held at the Central Science Academy on Nebula, ostensibly for research purposes, but really to keep me from revealing what I've learned. I'll find a way to get to you," Marcus promised. Luna shook her head. "Too dangerous. But there is another way." She placed her hand over his heart. "Trust our connection. It's stronger than they know." "And Marcus." Her form began to fade as the dream started to dissolve. "The next supply ship from Nebula. Watch for it. I've sent evidence." Marcus jolted awake to the sound of his alarm, the empty glass still on his nightstand, the vial nearly depleted. Luna's presence lingered like an echo, her warning repeating in his mind. Over the next several days, he went through the motions of his work while discreetly gathering allies. Dr. Chen agreed to help after he shared Luna's warning, and even Commander Reeves listened with grudging interest when presented with the possibility of sabotage. When the Nebulan supply ship docked a week later, Marcus was ready. Under the pretext of cataloging research materials, he intercepted a small container marked with Luna's scientific designation. Inside, he found data crystals containing security footage from Nebula, clearly showing Minister Orith conspiring with an Earth Coalition security officer. "This changes everything," Commander Reeves said gravely after viewing the evidence. "If members of both our delegations are actively working against the Alliance, we need to get this information to the highest levels of both governments," Dr. Chen added, "before they can intercept it." Marcus nodded in agreement, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Each night he used a drop of Luna's essence to connect with her, their bond growing stronger despite the vast distance between them. In those shared dreamscapes, they had begun to formulate a plan, one that might not only reunite them but salvage the alliance that meant so much to both their worlds. "The supply ship returns to Nebula tomorrow," he told his colleagues. "I intend to be on it." New constellation. The Nebulan capital city of Lumaris stretched before Marcus like something from a dream, towering crystal spires that captured and refracted the light of the binary stars overhead, creating rainbows that danced across smooth pearl-white streets. As the diplomatic shuttle descended toward the Central Science Academy, he fought to keep his apprehension in check. "Remember," Ambassador Soren said quietly beside him, "you are here as an official Earth Coalition representative to address concerns about the research partnership. Nothing more." Marcus nodded, adjusting the formal attire that felt stiff and unnatural compared to his usual research uniform. The evidence of sabotage had forced both governments to take the situation seriously, resulting in this unprecedented invitation for a human scientist to address the Nebulan High Council directly. What the Nebulans didn't know, what even Ambassador Soren didn't know, was that Marcus carried Luna's nearly empty essence vial in his breast pocket, and that for the past 3 weeks their minds had melded each night in dreams more vivid than reality. The shuttle landed on a circular platform that pulsed with gentle light. As they disembarked, Marcus scanned the welcoming delegation for any sign of Luna, but she was conspicuously absent. "The council awaits," announced a stern-faced Nebulan official, leading them through corridors that seemed to be carved from living crystal, pulsing with subtle bioluminescence. The High Council chamber was a vast amphitheater, with 9 elevated seats arranged in a crescent. Minister Orith occupied one of them, his expression darkening when he spotted Marcus. Of Luna there was still no sign. "Dr. Marcus Thorne," intoned the Central Elder, a Nebulan so ancient that her purple skin had faded to a soft lavender, her markings pale but complex. "You stand before the High Council of Nebula to address concerns regarding the research alliance between our peoples." Marcus stepped forward, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon him. "Honored elders, I come before you not just as a scientist, but as someone who believes our 2 species share more than we have yet discovered." For the next hour, he presented the evidence of sabotage, carefully emphasizing that the conspiracy involved individuals from both Earth and Nebula working against their government's wishes. He outlined the scientific breakthroughs their collaboration had already achieved and the potential benefits of continued partnership. When he finished, the Central Elder leaned forward. "Your evidence is compelling, Dr. Thorne. Minister Orith will be questioned thoroughly." Her penetrating gaze seemed to look through him rather than at him. "However, we sense you have not shared your true purpose in coming to Nebula." The chamber fell silent. Marcus took a deep breath, his hand moving to touch the vial in his pocket. It was now or never. "You're right," he acknowledged. "I have also come for Luna Vastriel." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Central Elder raised a hand, restoring silence. "Luna Vastriel is undergoing important examination," Minister Orith interjected before the Elder could speak. "Her unprecedented resonance with a human raises serious concerns about what?" Marcus challenged, stepping closer to the council dais. "That she proved our peoples can connect at the most fundamental level. That the barriers you believe separate us might be illusions." "You overstep, human," another council member warned. "No," came a familiar voice from the chamber entrance. "He speaks truth that too many fear to acknowledge." Luna stood in the doorway, her purple skin luminous, her markings pulsing with determination. She wore formal Nebulan attire that accentuated her willowy form as she glided forward to stand beside Marcus. "I left my examination chamber of my own accord," she announced to the stunned council. "No barriers could contain me once I understood the true nature of our resonance." The Central Elder's markings flared with surprise. "Explain yourself, Luna Vastriel." Luna's hand found Marcus's, their fingers intertwining. The moment they touched, something extraordinary happened. Luna's markings extended beyond her skin, flowing onto Marcus's hand and up his arm like living light. Gasps echoed through the chamber as Marcus's skin began to emit a soft glow, mirroring Luna's patterns. "Our essence resonance has evolved," Luna explained, her voice steady despite the whispers around them. "What began as a simple harmony has become something new, a shared consciousness that transcends physical limitations." "Impossible," breathed Minister Orith. "No human could achieve such integration with our life energy." "And yet, he has," the Central Elder observed, her ancient eyes widening as she studied the phenomenon before her. "I have seen such bonding only between lifelong mates of our own species." Marcus felt a warm current flowing between them, their connection stronger in physical proximity than it had ever been in their shared dreams. When he spoke, his voice carried a harmonic quality that echoed Luna's. "We come before you not just as individuals, but as living proof that our peoples need not fear each other. The connection we share doesn't diminish either of us, it creates something greater than the sum of its parts." A hush fell over the chamber as the council members observed the unprecedented phenomenon before them. Finally, the Central Elder rose from her seat, descending the dais steps with careful dignity until she stood directly before them. "In all my centuries," she said softly, "I have awaited a sign that our isolation was approaching its end." She extended her hands, palms up, in a traditional Nebulan gesture of recognition. "Perhaps you are that sign." Minister Orith surged to his feet. "This is madness. Their connection is an aberration, not a model for our future." "An aberration?" Luna challenged, her markings flashing defiantly. "Or the next step in our evolution as sentient beings?" The universe didn't create us to remain forever separate, Minister. It created us to find each other. The Central Elder's gaze moved between them, assessing. There is one way to determine the true nature of this bond. She turned to address the council. I propose the ceremony of shared essence. A ripple of astonishment passed through the chamber. Even Luna looked taken aback. Elder, she said carefully, such a ceremony has never included an off-worlder. Then perhaps it is time, the elder replied simply. 3 days later, Marcus stood beside Luna in the sacred grove, a hidden sanctuary beneath the Science Academy, where the atmosphere of Nebula was at its most pure and concentrated. The entire space pulsed with bioluminescence, ancient trees with crystalline trunks reaching toward a ceiling that somehow reflected the stars despite being underground. The ceremony had been explained to him in careful detail. He and Luna would enter a pool of concentrated atmospheric essence, the literal lifeblood of Nebula. Their bond would either be recognized by the living planet itself or rejected. The outcome would determine not just their personal fate, but potentially the future of human-Nebulan relations. Are you certain? Luna asked as they stood at the pool's edge, dressed in simple white garments. Around them, a small gathering of witnesses included the Central Elder, Ambassador Soren, and Commander Reeves, who had arrived from Celestia Prime to represent Earth's interests. More certain than I've ever been about anything, Marcus replied, squeezing her hand. They stepped into the pool together, the luminescent liquid rising to their waists. It felt warm against Marcus's skin, tingling with an energy he recognized from their shared dreams. As they moved to the center, Luna guided his hands to the proper positions, one over her heart, one at the nape of her neck, while she mirrored the pose with him. Now, she whispered, we let go of all barriers. The essence around them began to swirl, responding to their presence. Luna's markings brightened until they seemed to burn like stars against her purple skin. The patterns spread once more to Marcus, but this time they didn't stop at the surface. He felt them sinking deeper, mapping his nervous system, finding resonance with his very DNA. For one terrifying moment, Marcus felt himself dissolving, losing the boundaries that defined him as separate from Luna, from the pool, from Nebula itself. Then Luna's consciousness met his, a familiar presence in the swirling chaos anchoring him. I'm here, her thoughts whispered directly into his mind. We're here. Together, they surrendered to the process, allowing the essence to flow through and between them. In that suspended state, Marcus experienced Luna's memories as if they were his own. Her childhood on Nebula, her years of scientific training, the moment she first saw him stammering in the reception hall of Celestia Prime. In turn, he felt her experiencing his life on Earth, his fascination with the stars, his loneliness before her arrival. Beyond their personal memories, something larger unfolded, a vision of Earth and Nebula, not as separate worlds but as nodes in a vast, interconnected web of consciousness that spanned the galaxy. They saw potential futures branching out before them, timelines where their peoples either retreated into fearful isolation or embraced the challenging, beautiful complexity of connection. When they finally emerged from the pool, supporting each other on unsteady legs, the gathered witnesses stared in amazement. Marcus could still feel Luna in his mind, a gentle presence that somehow enhanced rather than invaded his sense of self. More surprisingly, he could sense the subtle emotional states of everyone in the room, a newfound empathic awareness that had never been documented in humans before.